present moment experience. As you hear the sound of the bell, kind of remember your inspiration or your intentionality in coming here. If we aren't inspired, if we don't feel some kind of push or drive to meditate, to practice, to show up, we're going to give up on the opportunity to meditate very, very quickly. So as we hear the sound of the bell, really remember your inspiration in coming here and listen deeply. Okay. I'm sure many of you have heard the expression before that nothing exists in a vacuum, right? Anything that happens, or anyone, any place, any situation, any practice has a context to it, or has surrounding conditions that either support it or don't support it. When it comes to meditation, Buddhism is the context in which meditation takes place. For from my side as a monk, and for people who are Buddhist practitioners, Buddhism is the context in which we practice meditation. We are likely inspired to practice and have showed up here in this Discord or on YouTube or wherever we happen to be, probably because of an awareness of suffering, right? Maybe some situation, some circumstance, someone, something in your life that you couldn't quite understand, you couldn't quite digest, you couldn't fully work with it. And this led to a deep and meaningful experience of suffering, and a wish for that suffering to end. And this kind of suffering can also mean like not being satisfied, or not really having seeing clearly, right? Not having a strong understanding or a strong footing on the life that you're living. And so we are inspired from that to approach meditation, to approach walking a path that can help us see clearly. Meditation is our practice of clearing up the eyes. And the context of Buddhism is very helpful in that it gives us information about how to approach meditation, and it also gives us information about the insights that come from meditation. So we don't need to go into meditation blindly as this kind of exercise, or like a physical training, or like going for a jog or for a run, but there is supporting information to give us a foundation on which to start our meditation practice. And then there is kind of wisdom or insight that people have developed or experienced from hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of hours of meditation. And we can listen to that wisdom and also be informed and inspired to make our practice more skillful, direct, and wise in the way that we do it. The main starting point for our meditation practice, and just living a spiritual life as a whole is always going to come back to or start from. Well, before we get into that, I wanna read this little passage, just these two paragraphs, and it's from a book that we looked at maybe the day before yesterday, called Instant Zen. Right? Everyone likes things instant, instant coffee, instant cappuccino. So, Clear Eyes, the title of this short paragraph is on Clear Eyes from this ancient Zen master. And I think that, at least for me, and um, I'm guessing for the people who are here as well listening to me, it's not just, I don't just want to avoid suffering or get rid of my suffering or kind of heal that wound that I have, but I want to see clearly. Right? I want my vision to be 2020. I want to see through the eyes of the ultimate. And my practice of meditation is also that, not just the healing and not just showing up to the present, but also clearing up these eyes from all this non-practical, complicated thinking, all these obstructions in my vision. So let's listen to this. People with clear eyes do not settle complacently into fixed ways. So do not easily settle or just get complacent into a fixed way of doing things. The reason that you haven't attained this truth in everyday life is simply that your eyes are not clear. If your eyes were clear, you would have attained it. You would understand completely. As soon as you say, "This is thus and so," that is a complacent fixation. People with clear eyes are not like this. So as soon as you say, "This is like this, and that's like that, and that's the way that things are," that is a complacent fixation. You're just kind of, you're fixated, you're stuck on something, and you're complacent with that. Or you allow it, oh yeah, that's just the way that it is. People with clear eyes are not like this. Have you not read how Deshan said to an assembly? So Zen, this is a great Zen master of the past, Zen master Deshan. Have you not heard how Deshan said to an assembly, "Tonight I will not answer questions. Anyone who asks a question gets a thrashing, gets a beating." How could anyone without clear eyes comprehend this? Fail in the slightest to comprehend this, and you fall into conceptual thought, which constructs signals. That is why Deshan's normal experience of life was comprehended only by one person, Yanto, Zen Master Yanto. Therefore, I say you have to have clear eyes before you can attain this. So, introducing ourselves to meditation, introducing ourselves to the Buddhist path is a matter of having clear eyes, seeing clearly. And Zen here is this kind of gold standard or diamond standard for spirituality without all the toys or without all the complicated narratives and chakras and levels of enlightenment. It's just you either get it or you don't. You can either see clearly the truth right here and now or you can't. You're either stuck or you're free. And that is this kind of essential spirituality that Zen brings us, right? The tree is a teacher, the clear blue sky as a representation of the ultimate nature of our mind that is clear and open and yet accepts and allows all kinds of clouds and storms to come up, but they don't interfere with the nature of the mind, which is clear, open, free. So to approach meditation, we have to be inspired, and that probably means that we've dealt with suffering. It can be something specific, but it's more just a general, we've recognized that there's something off, there's something that's not satisfactory. There's something in my eye and I can't get it out. So we're inspired to approach the spiritual path, and that, eventually that's going to lead us to meditation. Right? What's spirituality without meditation? What's the road to enlightenment without meditation? What we need to understand is that if you are not able to simplify and stabilize your mental, physical, and verbal actions, if you're not able to become aware of the actions that you're taking in your life, whether they're mental, what you're thinking, verbal, what you're saying, or physical, what you're doing, what you're consuming, then meditation, real meditation, is not going to be on the table. It's not really going to be accessible because we're just kind of out of control. And then when we sit down to practice meditation, or when we try to practice meditation, it's going to be from this place of, I don't have a capacity to be aware. I only have a capacity to do things and be caught up and be lost in thought and be lost in action and be lost in what I'm saying, right? So there are some prerequisites for approaching meditation in a sustainable, or like a economical way, in a realistic way. And that is that we start to prioritize being virtuous, being ethical, right? It's like you might have something in your eye, and you know that there's something in your eye. And so you start to rub your eyes. That's a starting point, right? You're working on the problem. You're not for sure going to get whatever is in your eye out, but at least you're making the effort to start, kind of working on it. So prioritizing precepts or virtue or morality, or your willingness to stop what you're doing, um, is the starting point for uh, really getting into meditation, and exercising that meditation muscle. Because we are kind of normal people with normal potentialities, and most of us are in normal conditions and circumstances and environments, that means that we have to do as much as we can do to really become a meditator or become a practitioner in the environment that we're in, rather than needing to change it fundamentally, or like force ourselves into a box that's just not realistic to be in right now. Like for many of us, it's not realistic to be a monk, or to stay at a meditation center or monastery, etc. So we have to start prioritizing precepts. And just put this in the meditation instruction bank. You don't need to do something right now in particular, but you need to recognize that if you're serious about meditation, you need to become serious or sincere about following precepts. There's no way to get around this, really. So that means that we don't kill. We respect life. We don't steal. We respect the possessions of others. We don't lie or speak harshly. We speak wholesomely. We watch our speech. We don't commit sexual misconduct. It means we take responsibility for our sexual energy. We're very careful with that sexual energy. And we don't take drugs or intoxicants. Okay, these are the 5 fingers of the fist of mindfulness, or of meditation. Okay, and in the same way that you can't meditate all the time, right? You're not able to meditate 12 hours a day or what have you. You're also not going to be able to imprint these on your mind or on your life 12 hours a day. But you can start to integrate these into your life. Put them on your wall. Start to consider about, what does it mean to stop what I'm doing and look deeply at my mental, physical, and verbal actions, and that I have a capacity to do that in my daily life, in my normal activities. I have a capacity to practice this. That is immediately going to extend into our formal meditation practice. Okay. Any questions so far? And I know that, many people, you may not be coming from a Buddhist background, you may not be coming from a religious background, you may not be coming from a background that emphasizes any kind of morality or living ethically, right? But just because you don't come from that background doesn't mean that these teachings or living ethically or following the five precepts is coming from like this vague myopic space, right? Write it down, put it on your wall, get it tattooed on your forehead, remember these principles, and start to integrate this approach into how you live your life. Whether you're going to Starbucks or Walmart or Target or whatever, you can integrate these principles into your life. You can remember this in your daily life. It's something that can be a source of wholesomeness and kind of balance and simplicity and stability. Oh, I'm going to prioritize being a good person. All right? Any questions so far? Let's listen to a sound of the bell. The sound of the bell is the voice of the Buddha. So listen closely. So we have the inspiration to practice, some driving force, some intention, there's an inspiration in us to practice, not just to think, not just to talk, but to practice. To support that inspiring force or energy to practice, we start to incorporate ethical living into our lives. We prioritize being a good person. Now, it's a matter of arriving home or mindfulness or present moment awareness or present moment experiencing. Firstly, we stop, right? How do you meditate? How do you start to meditate? Stop. That's how you start to meditate, by stopping. So stop mental action, stop physical action, stop verbal action. That just means your kind of involvement with the momentum or your involvement with these things. Now, we can't fully control the body or the mind, but what we can do is it's kind of like dealing with maybe a child that whose emotions or whose mind is out of control, right? We can't stop that child. We can't stop that body and mind. But what we can do is take that child for a walk And in taking that child for a walk, we're not just going to be filling their ears with, whatever is kind of coming through our head. Even though things are coming through our head, we're just going to walk and breathe and perhaps go to a suitable environment for walking out in nature. Walking meditation can't be underestimated, the power of it, just to walk and breathe. And you can repeat a mantra as well, such as breathing in, breathing out as you're walking. One of the best ways that you can start integrating meditation into your life right now, even if your mind's not that stable and kind of you're not very good at it, is going for walks in nature, prioritizing your breathing and using your thought in the way of a mantra, such as breathing in, breathing out. Just walking and breathing and using the mind like that. Now here we're online together. We're in front of a computer or whatever technology is allowing us to be here together. So it's not so convenient for us to go for a walk in nature together. But we can sit together, right? And this principle or practice of sitting has a lot to do with being upright and stable and comfortable. So take a moment, if you will, if you're able, to adjust your posture and find that really comfortable, stable position for your body to be in. If you want to meditate, you got to be ready to be bored. Okay? You've got to be ready to be like drifting off or having this vague sense in your mind of like, what, just this vagueness, because that vagueness, it's actually an awareness of that vagueness. It's an awareness of that boredom, and then you bring that back. You bring it to this penetration point. You bring it to this present moment experiencing point, right? You don't just follow along with vagueness. You don't just follow along with boredom. You don't just follow along with whatever your body or mind happened to say, but you're aware of it and you experience it directly. You face it. You enter into whatever experience is happening. So really comfortable, stable position for me is kind of sitting cross-legged on a couch or on a computer chair, or office chair, or something that has some back support. That's really stable for me. But our meditation isn't about any particular position of body or mind. But certain positions help us, and certain positions are less helpful, more difficult to practice with. So try to find a convenient position to be in right now, seated or laying down. Even standing is okay, just to be standing there. There are mental phenomena happening. There are physical phenomena happening, right? A body is happening right now. There's a lot that goes along with that. We can get detailed, we can get specific, but there's a lot of stuff that's going along in terms of the bodily phenomena, bodily happening. There's also many things going on, likely, in terms of mental phenomena or names, right? Ideas, stories, thoughts, images, whatever might be coming up mentally. As a meditator, we're not rejecting any of this. We're not trying to control the mind or control the body. It's not the practice of meditation. Rather, we're setting the body down and naturally when we kind of sit down and stop doing things, the body and mind come together. And we can kind of key into or tune into very easily and naturally without much effort. If we have that sincerity there, that intention there, that inspiration there, we can kind of tune into the body and mind are one. Because we have a tendency to be very wrapped up in thinking, and maybe uh, also a tendency to like kind of use the body rather than experience it, use it with attachment. So it's like, oh, my body is for pleasure, it's for avoiding pain, right? Because of that, we need kind of a unification point and a concentration or an access point for this body and mind unification, for this state of just the body and mind being together and the natural awareness. So that access point, that unification point is, can anyone guess? Does anyone know? It's our breathing, right? It's this joy of breathing. It's this happiness of breathing. To call it breathing is almost cheating it. We're almost cheating ourselves to point to our breathing because it's so naturally there, right? It's such this effervescent, constant access point to our life. And meditation is life. Whenever we start to fixate or grasp or to get kind of tangled in the physical phenomena, experiences of the body, go back to the access point. Return to the breathing. But return to the breathing is a kind of exfoliation or an accessing of life, right? Not focus on your breathing. No, it's you're accessing your life. It's a happiness. It's a joy to come back to the breathing. And the same goes with any mental phenomena that come up, any judgment or any grasping onto pleasantness, unpleasantness, boredom, neutrality. Notice that, and then coming back to the breathing point and understanding that the breath is this kind of life, really, it's natural to be interested in it. Right? So, this interest in the breathing, this interest in body and mind are one experience. And when we get distracted by physical phenomena, mental phenomena, breathing in such a way that nourishes that interest and the richness of breathing and abide in that, stay in that. And kind of experience how accessible that always is and the richness of it, the depth of it, even though a lot of physical experiences may come up, mental experiences may come up, this breathing point, this life point is so accessible, and we can really dive into that and come home to that. So let's listen together to 3 sounds of the bell, and these are the right conditions to practice. We're here together in community. Many people are here together practicing. We have a facilitator. We have the support of many beings, seen and unseen. So let's try to take this period of time to really practice together and introduce ourselves to that meditation. 3 sounds of the bell. Try to remember and keep in mind that there's no benefit to meditating for a particular period of time. Each and every moment of mindfulness, each and every moment of accessing the breath, of coming home, that is the practice. That is the place. That is the coming home. So any and all experience of discouragement or waiting, don't wait. Don't be discouraged. Don't even be excited or encouraged. Come back to the access point. Come back to the engagement of present moment breathing experience. That right there is exactly the path, walking the path step by step. It's not about any destination. It's not about where you're coming from. It's not even about where you are now. Each and every step is the way, is the path. So let's continue practicing together for a few more minutes till we hear the sound of the bell. Okay, dear community, that is our introduction to meditation. We now have some time for question and answer or sharing experience. I encourage everyone to take meditation as this way of accessing and coming home to a moment by moment life. So you don't need to sit 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, an hour a day. You don't need to do this special method or be looking for some result. Just that joy, that freedom, that power of being able to come home to and attend to reality, life, regardless of how it feels, that's where the power in meditation is. And the more that your life can become meditation, that's when, naturally you can sit for longer periods or have some, some kind of richer experience or more interesting experience, or you can test yourself or try different methods. But the real introduction to meditation is seeing life as a meditation and reorienting your way of body, mind, and verbal actions to be in relationship with the now, the ever new present moment, the ever new fresh mind. And for that, you don't need to set a schedule. You don't need to beat yourself up because, you're not practicing as much as you want to. Just come home and enjoy it. And if you're practicing meditation the right way, if you really get just a little glimpse of what real meditation is, you're going to naturally do it more and more. It's going to be a refuge, not a practice. Okay? So that's my spiel for today, and I welcome anyone to ask questions or share their experience either through YouTube or here on Discord, wherever you may be joining. Welcome to share. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much for this introduction. I'm sorry I could not put my camera and I didn't meditate. I just hear and listen and try to integrate the teaching because I'm going to a friend's birthday and I was so stressful. I have to prepare things to share cooking and so it helped me to calm down and to think about more important thing than just being bizarrely stressed about just a birthday party. And so I will try to keep in mind those things during this evening, and so I'm very grateful. And even I will try not to drink too much, maybe just 2 glasses of wine, because it's very difficult for me to not drink at all. But I'm sorry if I'm saying that because I know if I'm not supposed to. But if I'm thoughtful, is it okay?
Well, no, I mean it's not okay, not a good idea, because we are not enlightened, and it's not because of our own willpower or special understanding that our life, our body and mind happen to be the way that they are right now. This is cause and effect. It happens to be this way right now, but it may not happen to be that way a few moments from now or a few years from now. So there's this responsibility that we should take where whatever benefits we have, whatever choice we have, whatever freedom we should use it to the very best of our abilities. And
Mhm.
it, we should experiment. So you are skillful to drink, but you may not be skillful to not drink, right? So we want
Exactly.
to try that. We want to experiment. We want to exercise our capacities, right?
Okay.
And we may not always have that chance to do it. We don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what might come up in ourselves. So any degree of intoxication or wasted energy or just kind of recklessness or lack of care because it seems that it's just fine, it's we're missing out on some of our safety, right? We're missing out on some of our deeper care, and as much as we can, we should try not to drink alcohol, right? We should try not to be loose and free with our sexual energy, our sexual activities, right? As much as we can, we should try. And we won't always be successful, but at least you can try, especially when the
But
choice is there.
I do every day. I don't drink anymore every day.
Right.
So it would be okay just what for sociability.
Well, you should see how your mind is. You see, that's the thing. If we just go into it, we say, "Oh, I'm just going to drink because that's, because of such and such," or "I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to have this nonchalant hookup with some person because so and so, because, that's just normal, right? We're missing out on that opportunity to stop and actually look deeply at how our mind is in that situation, in that environment, right? What's actually coming up and where is it coming from?
Mm-hmm.
So you may not be able to control it, but if you can, try to
Yeah.
and see what that's like.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would not go into social event if.
But you see, that's the awareness. That's a deeper layer
Yeah.
of
I'm,
awareness,
I'm
deeper layer of presence, and you can get a lot of benefit from that. You can learn a lot from that experience,
yeah.
right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Bante, for everything. Your thought.
Well, give it a try and let us know. You can have some homework if you like, and let us know how it went. Okay. Thank you, Suzuza over on Kovac over on YouTube. Okay, so Nick has a question. Nick, do you have a microphone?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
What's your question?
So I was just asking, like, if I'm meditating and I have like a random itch on my arm, is it like a better idea to like just use that as a meditation object? Because I was just thinking like that could be like equanimity practice, and
Yeah.
I heard those are really good. So
Yeah, it's great. When we are sitting meditation and we feel an itch, or maybe we even feel a pain or a discomfort, if you can be mindful of that and just kind of have this sense of a balanced awareness or a non-judgmental presence towards that sensation or that feeling, then that's great. And you can try to exercise that like equanimity in the face of uncomfortableness, whether it's an itch or a pain. But once you start to fight, once your meditation starts to be this conflict between your practice or your heart mind, your presence, and this feeling or this sensation, just change your posture a little bit or itch it and then continue the practice, right? Because we've got enough stress, we've got enough tangled upness in our mind, right? In our daily life. So meditation isn't a place for that. It's not a place to fight with ourselves. It's not a place to strive for greater heights of success or ego, right? Or defeating our sufferings. It's a place where we come home and we know peace and we know freedom and we know that there's a refuge there that's beyond our ego.
yeah, for sure. That's how I usually frame it. So that's good. I was just wondering for like purposeful.
Yeah.
This.
And
Yeah.
especially at the beginning, we have to be careful because we will, most of us don't have the good supportive conditions for our practice, right? We might not have a temple. nearby or a meditation center nearby. We may not have many relationships with, real practitioners. And we may just kind of be more of a beginner, right? So in that case, we have to be very careful and gentle and thoughtful about how we approach our meditation practice so that it doesn't become this source of stress, right? Because you can make something that is meant to be that which ends barriers, right? That which releases you, that which frees you, and now it becomes something that's trapping you, right? Your spiritual path now is this kind of stressor or this confusing force, this exhausting force. And so what you'll do then is you'll give up. You won't keep practicing. So on one hand, we need to go towards Sangha. We need to go towards community like our Sangha here, our online community. We need to get tuned in. We need to have relationships with monks or long-term practitioners to follow, to listen, to support. And we need to prioritize living a virtuous life. But we also need to be very kind of gentle in how we approach this so that we don't turn ourselves off from the practice and from the path. You got
Okay. Yes, that makes sense.
generous and gentle with yourself as you keep taking steps forward on this path.
Okay. Thank you, Pate.
And people always, they see the image of the monk and they think, oh, that means this dude must be enlightened or, have this special practice or this, has really got it. Now they're fit to be a teacher. But actually these robes represent the support. They represent the community, right? So I live at a Buddhist temple, so I'm reminded about this stuff every day. I live with people who are more experienced than me, so I've got their support every day. I've made a commitment. I've wear these robes as a vow to live a virtuous meditative life. So it's really like the image of the monk is the image of support, right? Of being supported, not just being the teacher or the guru or what have you, right? And the peace or the stability, the freedom, the capacity for me to live my life as a monk relates to being supported. So if we're serious about the spiritual path, we have to ask ourselves, okay, how can I be supported? How can I go for refuge? Not just how can I, grind this out and kind of figure this out, but how can I be supported? What can support me on this path long term? Where can I go for refuge? Where can I trust in? And Buddhism is a very good source. But that term Buddhism is a little bit too vague, right? You need to find meditation center in your area. You need to find a monk or a teacher or a community that's accessible for you so that you can be supported and you can continue. Otherwise, it's too difficult. And our practice shouldn't be too difficult. It should be happiness. It should be joyful. It should be rejuvenative. It should be something we can rely on and come back to naturally. If we want to be really spiritual, if we want to be really meditative, if we want to be really tuned in, we've got to be really good. We've got to be really virtuous people. We've got to be really generous. We've got to be really careful with our mental, physical, verbal actions. We've got to be really mindful of the actions that we take. We've got to do more good deeds. In the simplest, offer a smile to somebody. Okay, be kind, be gentle, be generous. We've got to do less bad deeds. We've got to do less things that we shouldn't do. that are harmful to ourselves or to others, such as drinking alcohol or getting into arguments or hyper focusing on politics or speaking harshly, right? Non-practical speech. That's how you become really spiritual, really woke, really based, really chill, really healthy and wealthy in where it matters, which is the mind. Material wealth it doesn't mean anything if your mind isn't healthy and wealthy. The joy that you will get from your smartphone or your car or the place where you live, your lifestyle, whatever it is directly correlated. The joy, the happiness you'll get out of it, the fulfillment that you'll get out of it is directly correlated to the fulfillment that you will get from your mind. How much fulfillment, how much happiness, how much joy, how much peace your mind has a capacity to have. The other stuff is just pleasure. And we already know that pleasure is not happiness, it's not joy, it's not freedom. So don't spend your resources seeking out pleasure and thinking that that's somehow, or spend your resources seeking out just more and more resources, because that's just not how life works. That's not how the mind works. It's not how the body works. Pleasure is not happiness. It's not freedom. It's not peace. It's not fulfillment. So we should use our resources that we have, mental, physical, material, to continue on the path and to help others continue on the path. That's much more valuable, much more important than just trying to, stimulate our wealth or getting this idea of like, oh, if I had that car, or if I had that apartment, or if I had that item, right? That teapot, that coffee machine, that I'm going to be fulfilled. You're not. It's only going to fulfill you as much as your mind has a capacity to fulfill itself. It's not going to give you more than that. It can't. You can, your pleasure, your mental pleasure or physical pleasure can fulfill you as much as your heart can fulfill you. So you've got to empower your heart. You don't need to live like a monk. It's not that you can't have nice things or use nice things, but and even monks have nice things, but it's that you recognize deeply that that's not where my fulfillment comes from. That object, that experience, that place, that wealth is to be used only and experienced only to continue on this path, to be more mindful, to be more good, to do more good, and to be detached, right? Because the greatest happiness and the greatest peace is freedom. So we have to break the chains slowly but surely. We can't overemphasize this because the mind will destabilize, because we're attached to so many things. We need to break the chains of all these attachments that I hold on to. This attachment to my identity, this attachment to this expectation, to this person, to this place. Right? That's wisdom, how we become more and more free moment by moment. And that's where we can have more fulfillment, more joy, more happiness, the more free that we are. And we get there by doing good deeds more and more, by being generous, by being kind, by being intentionally patient and moderated in our mental, physical, verbal actions, even though it doesn't seem like the most fun to not drink anymore, not smoke anymore, or not watch horror movies anymore, right? To moderate the content that we consume. It doesn't seem like so much fun, but when we follow precepts and we start to emphasize doing good deeds rather than getting what we want, those shackles become weakened more and more. Then we have the breakthroughs. Those attachments to stimulation, those attachments to the body, those attachments to the mind become less and less empowered. And whatever you have the habit energy to do, the more freedom or the more independence you're going to get by not doing that, by stepping back from doing that. And it's consistency. It's not, where do I get, what's the spirit molecule? How do I decalcify my pineal gland, right? How do I do this retreat? And then that's going to solve my problems. How do I, that fervor and that kind of, it's almost a kind of religiosity about a certain experience, a certain place, a certain situation. That's what you need to calm down from, step back from. That's what needs to bring you back to coming home to being mindful and simple and stable and breathing and aware and not chasing after anything. And not contriving or not using all this energy to make these things happen. Then you can collect your energy to mindfulness and finding out, what does generosity mean to you? How can you be generous? How can your heart and your mind and the way that you act and live be generous? And it's not just throwing things around. It's not just saying things, right? It's not just trying to like give advice to people or answer people's questions. Sometimes our generosity is not saying something, not doing something, right? Sometimes our generosity is just, learning how to stop and offer that to someone. And we can do it. Have faith as well. Have trust that you can change your stars, so to speak, or you can change your mind. You can break the chains that bind you, for sure. And that in some sense they're already broken. Those chains are made up of space. The sound of those shackles jingling as you move around, those are the bells of liberation. Those are the bells of freedom. Right? The ultimate is in those chains. The ultimate is in your suffering, your attachment. Any more questions or sharing from anyone? Okay, Strumi, so maybe next time. Gratitude, right? A recognition of what's already there. The body that's already here, the mind that's already here, the way that things already are, and having this sense of gratitude and appreciation. It doesn't mean that you can't do something, right? It's not there to limit you, but it's a kind of joyous recognition of what doesn't take any energy to manifest or create or bring about. And it can be trippy too, right? This body happens to be here, this table, this computer, this community happens to be here. Where did it come from? We don't know all these people, right, that are connected and connected for practice and for Zen, right, for Chan, for the ultimate, for virtue, meditation, wisdom. Where did this come from? But rather than having to use this mental energy or physical energy or what have you to answer this, it's just a recognition and a gratitude. And what Strumi said here is right to the point. They said, I'm very new to this all, but I noticed being wholesome today really helped to make me happy. Just be wholesome, just be kind, be nice, be gentle, be open, especially with yourself. How do children learn to walk? How do babies learn to walk? By falling down. And that is also how we are going to establish ourselves in the truth and in freedom, by getting tripped up by all kinds of falsehoods and miscommunications and confusions and wrong actions. Be good, be mindful, be free. Okay, dear community, we like to finish these practices together with the sharing of the merit. Merit is pretty simple. When you do good, you feel good. When you meditate, when you live an ethical life, when you listen to wisdom, you do something wholesome, and there's a good effect that goes along with that. It's like, I don't know if anyone else has ever experienced this, but sometimes I'll be kind of doing what I should do and staying on course, and life just seems to be, whatever, going fine. And then the moment that I kind of break one of my precepts, or I don't take care of myself in the way that I should, or I go to a place mentally or physically that I didn't want to go to, I kind of break my own heart in some way. Somehow, the inner bad action leads to, like, there's a bad luck. The next day, life comes knocking and it says, hey, are you ready? Why didn't you come yesterday? Why didn't you come a few days ago? I was ready then, but now, there's kind of a difficulty there, right? So when we do good deeds, there's a good effect. The more that you can follow precept, the more that you can be virtuous, the more that you can, I know following precept is difficult, but just keeping this intention in your mind to be wholesome, to be good, to be virtuous. The more that you can be mindful, the more that you rely on the right teachings, the wisdom, the more merit you can make, right? And so you've got better luck and you feel good. You do good, you feel good. So we came together today, we practiced meditation, we listened to some teachings, we asked some questions and received some answers. And because of that, we make merit. Just showing up here for a moment and being mindful, right? It makes merit. And so our finishing move, so to speak, is that we don't just keep that merit for ourselves, but we dedicate it, we offer it, we share it out with all beings. And we'll do that together. So I invite everyone to unmute their microphones, and you can repeat after me this kind of dedication of the merit. And it's a kind of generosity, right? It's a sharing out of our happiness, our peace, our relaxation. We don't just keep it for ourselves, but we dedicate it outward. So everyone, please unmute your microphone or just say along on your own. We can bring our hands together like this as well. Okay, repeat after me. May all the merits that we have done till now
May all the merits we have done until now
be dedicated and shared out
be dedicated and shared out
toward all sentient beings.
towards all sentient beings.
May all sentient beings
May all sentient beings
rejoice and share in our merits.
rejoice and share in our merits.
May it be,
May it be,
may it be,
may it be,
may it be.
may it be.
Okay. Thank you, dear community, for being here, and see you again soon.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
And if you're following along on YouTube, don't be shy to leave a like, leave a comment later on. Helps other people come across our community.